Why do Catholics worship Mary? Catholics don't worship Mary. So the question, why do Catholics worship Mary, isn't actually the right question. Maybe we would better say, why do Catholics honor Mary or highly regard her or have respect? You see, in the Church's theology, when we talk about worship, we call that latria. And our latria, our worship, is reserved for God alone. But then we have these saints. And so Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary, we call this hyperdulia, that she is above all the saints. Then there's protodulia, which is the devotion given to Saint Joseph because of his closeness to Mary and to Jesus. And then there's dulia, this notion of the saints and asking them to intercede for us. So we don't worship Mary or we don't worship the saints either. But what we do is we ask them to intercede for us. One of the ways that I like to think about it is that I am praying with Mary and that she is praying for me. When our Blessed Mother appeared in Champion, Wisconsin to a Belgian immigrant back in 1859, the young woman's name was Adele. Mary said to Adele, "I'm the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners, and I wish you to do the same." I've always been very moved by that. Mary wants us to pray with her for the conversion of sinners. That not only does she pray for us, but now I'm praying with her as well. This devotion to Mary, in a sense, could almost be seen from the view of the Old Testament, which maybe that sounds a little off. But in the Old Testament, the queen used to be the mother of the king. And so Mary, as the mother of Jesus, the King of Kings, well, she is the Queen Mother then. And what was the role of the Queen Mother? It was to intercede on behalf of the people. That people would go to the Queen, bring some concerns, and then they would bring those concerns to the King. So it's kind of like Our Lady. She receives the concerns of the people, and then she brings them to her son, Jesus. Maybe one of the ways we could think about it is simply, I live in a city, there's a pothole, I go to the councilman. The councilman then takes it to the mayor, and the mayor does something about that pothole. So Our Lady serving that role, taking our needs and our petitions. For a person who might struggle with devotion to the Blessed Mother, I would just encourage you to give it a try, to see what it does for you. One of the things I always tell people is that Marian devotion has worked. People go to all these different Marian shrines, and then there's these testimonials. People have left crutches or braces. There are stories of Mary's intercession and the power of it. It works. And so if you're doubting it, I would say give it a try and see if the prayers of Our Lady might work in your life too. If you have a question about the Catholic faith or about being a follower of Jesus, feel free to submit it by emailing askapriest@spiritjuice.org.